I want to bring in on this broadcast Gaurav Sawant and Sandeep Unitan, both of whom for the last many decades have been tracking this fight against red terror and how difficult it's been to really crack down in some of the worst affected districts. Gaurav, I'd like to begin with you to explain to our viewers what really is the significance of this top Naxal commander being eliminated. Why is this such a big deal in the fight against red terror?
The biggest brain behind military strategy and military operations of Red Terror, Madvi Hidma, has finally been neutralized, and he is responsible for a large number of big ticket attacks on security forces and political leaders. Take, for example, the Chintalnar massacre of 2010. 75 CRPF personnel were killed, and when we were covering that, these terrorists, the red terrorists, came from the higher ground. They tracked the movement of the CRPF personnel, attacked from 4 higher ground, ensured that backup could not reach them, and then targeted these people. 75 CRPF personnel were killed. Hidma was the man who planned it and ensured execution on ground. Take then the Jhiram Ghati or the Jhiram Valley massacre of the entire Congress party leadership in Chhattisgarh in 2013, and the manner in which they were ambushed and killed. So it's pinpoint precision, know when to strike, where to strike, and then just disappear. The most recent one in 2021, when 22 CRPF personnel unfortunately were killed, security forces personnel were killed. That was a case that was being monitored by Union Home Minister Amit Shah himself. And when you hear the inside story about traitors within our system, those who leaked out information to Hidma about the movement, the Home Minister, from what my sources tell me, was personally in touch with those teams, guiding the withdrawal with tactical commanders on ground. Ek circle bana ke, they formed a circle so that they could fire in every direction and beat the ambush. And yet, Hidma was successful in killing 25 of these personnel, 26 of these personnel. So that shows his military strategy. Now that is where the Home Minister gave a deadline to security forces, and 11 days before the completion of the deadline, they had intelligence. So they had all material was given: satellite intelligence, drone, ground intelligence, multi-state offensive. So it's at the tri-junction of Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Chhattisgarh that Hidma, along with his wife and top commanders, have finally been neutralized. And this is where the military leadership, the 1st Battalion of PGLA, has been sorted out.
It also is because, there's nowhere left to hide. The reality is that the number of districts, which was referred to as a red corridor before, no longer a corridor, honestly, because a lot of these areas have been completely declared Naxal Mukt. So they don't have anyone shielding them anymore. They don't have any pockets where they can hide. Thanks, Gaurav, for joining us. I just want you to take a look at this contrast of what the red corridor looked like versus what it looks like now. And we're drawing a comparison between 2013, when you had 182 districts that were affected by Naxalism. In the south, there were parts of Tamil Nadu, parts of Kerala. You had, of course, Andhra, Telangana, that also saw rampant Naxalism. At that point, it was, of course, erstwhile Andhra Pradesh. Chhattisgarh, of course, is where you saw maximum Naxal activities, unfortunately, in Jharkhand. So many of these states struggled, and that's because in most of these villages, there was no development. Contrast that to now, 2025, and these are numbers as of April, where the affected districts were 18. That number's further come down now to just about 3, if I'm not wrong. That's the only number of districts now that are affected. These 3 districts are in Chhattisgarh. And I want to bring in Sandeep Unitan for more on those numbers that we're showing on our screen. Sandeep, just explain to us, what it's taken for this moment here, where we're seeing from 180 plus affected districts from a red corridor to red pockets, essentially, just about a handful of districts that still have Naxals active.
Absolutely. Akshita, in 2006, the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh called the Maoist scourge the single biggest threat to India's internal security. And that was when the Red Corridor was at its peak. You could actually go from, Tirupati to Pashupati, as they would say, from Andhra Pradesh to Nepal, without, crossing into a territory that was not held by the Maoists. That is the kind of sway that they had 19 years ago. And cut to 2025, they're down to 18 districts, if not fewer than that. In fact, they are all on the run. And this encounter where Madvi Hidma has been killed, that represents the end of the Maoists as an effective fighting force. Now, Madvi Hidma is not an ordinary Maoist commander. As Gaurav mentioned, he was the commander of the elite 1st Battalion of the Maoists, and he was the one who was leading all of these ambushes over the last 19 years. He's participated in some of the deadliest ambushes in this red corridor, where they would massacre policemen, they would massacre CRPF with utter ruthlessness in a way that we have not seen since 1947. We have not seen guerrilla outfits which have the ability to move like conventional militaries, mobilize like militaries. They were organized like battalions and companies like the Indian Army, and they would march, they would lay ambushes, they would massacre CRPF troops, policemen, all of that over the last 2 decades. Now, all that has now come to an end. With the end of Red Terror, the killing of Madvi Hidma, who's literally the most ferocious of the Maoist commanders, it's a big body blow to the Maoists. Now, their effectiveness as a fighting force in whatever form remains in doubt. They first lost their chief, Basavaraj, in May of 2025, and now the end of Maoism is near with Madvi Hidma's death. Maoists now will not be any effective fighting force. They will be on the run. In the next couple of months, you will see more such surrenders, captures, encounter killings, till the time that even those few districts that you mentioned would be completely Maoist free. Akshita.
Well, going by how, our forces have been actively ensuring that more and more districts are Naxal free, it's only a matter of time before these 3 districts that we're looking at right now in Chhattisgarh are also declared Naxal free. What we're also seeing is most of these military strategists of the Naxalism movement being cornered, targeted, being eliminated. These are people who had bounties of over 1 crore on their heads. Thanks very much, Sandeep and Gaurav, for those details. I also want to run you through what Prime Minister Modi said, even as there's been a great deal of focus on red terror, Naxalism. Remember that the BJP has also always spoken about those in cities who continue to back these Naxals. He's attacked the Congress party once again for sheltering Maoist ideologies, calling it an urban Naxal network. Prime Minister Modi also called Congress a threat to India's unity. Listen into this.
बीते 5 दशकों तक देश का करीब करीब हर बड़ा राज्य माओवादी आतंक की चपेट में रहा। लेकिन ये देश का दुर्भाग्य था कि कांग्रेस भारत के संविधान को नकारने वाले माओवादी आतंक को पालती पोसती रही और सिर्फ दूर दराज के क्षेत्रों में, जंगलों में ही नहीं, कांग्रेस ने शहरों में भी नक्सलवाद की जड़ों को खाद पानी दिया। कांग्रेस ने बड़ी बड़ी संस्थाओं में अर्बन नक्सलियों को स्थापित किया। साथियों, 10-15 साल पहले कांग्रेस में जो अर्बन नक्सली माओवादी पैर जमा चुके थे, वो अब कांग्रेस को मुस्लिम लीगी माओवादी कांग्रेस एमएमसी बना चुके हैं। और मैं आज पूरी जिम्मेदारी से कहूंगा कि मुस्लिम लीगी माओवादी कांग्रेस अपने स्वार्थ में देश हित को तिलांजलि दे चुकी है। आज की मुस्लिम लीगी माओवादी कांग्रेस देश की एकता के सामने बहुत बड़ा खतरा बनती जा रही है।